Welcome back. We are Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebes or plebs. All right, we're going to the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time. Sponsored by... Number Time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the biggest Bitcoin conference ever. Get your tickets now with the link down below.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 707,766. The Bitcoin price, 60,940. Chain rewrite days, 791. Total public Lightning capacity, 3,134.9. Sats per dollar or Moscow times 1641. And blocks to the halvening, 132,234.
Dude.
You know what? Total Lightning capacity did take a bit of a slip, right? We were at 3,180. I'm pretty sure. I feel like I remember that number. Or at least 60.
We were at 3,164.
There we go. 3,164. So, I mean, you know, we did take a little bit of a pullback in the public Lightning node capacity, but it really is irrelevant considering we're over 3,100 and it's holding steady.
Dude, it's definitely holding steady, but not only that, remember our theory? We were so confident on that theory, Phil, for so freaking long. Our theory that, you know, just to kind of give you guys a quick recap, we were absolutely positive that the price and the Lightning Network capacity were affecting each other, but we were absolutely freaking wrong.
Indeed, we were wrong. Hey, look, you know what? This is that's the thing where, you know, you try to create patterns out of things that there maybe is no pattern really.
There is a lesson there though, right? And the lesson is, right, this is why TA sucks. Because
and be humble.
Be humble, stack sats, but this is why TA doesn't like, and I think the best, I forget the metric, right? But the best traders, they get it right 60% of the time. So think about it. 40% of the time, for the best traders, they were drawing lines incorrectly.
They were. They absolutely were.
So, man, like, yeah.
And don't forget, right? Back in the 2018, 2019 bear market, when people saw Bitcoin at 3,500, people were drawing lines down to 27, and from 27 they were drawing lines down to 1,900. Okay, mm-hmm. There were all those lines. If it only panned out. If it only panned out.
You know what is really accurate though, in my experience, right? Is, have you ever seen the Wall Street cheat sheet, right? And it basically like describes, and I'll pop it up for you guys, but it describes the emotions that you feel during the bear and the bull. Listen, no one knows when the peak or the bottom's going to be, but I just want to reference the emotional part. The emotional part is so spot on, right? The top of the bull market's euphoria. You think you're a genius. And then the bottom is despair. You're like, I'm going to lose everything. That thing, it doesn't describe when the peaks and the downs are going to be, but the emotions, man, it's spot on with the emotions. Like, I think it's highly accurate when it comes to that, especially with Bitcoin. You grow numb to it after a while, especially if you survive one full cycle, and you're just like, I don't care anymore. But, for the first 2 years, dude, like 2018 was a bitch, Phil. It was terrible. It was bad. It was bad.
It was. And especially if you shitcoined in late 2017 into 2018. So not only did some of us lose our shirts in shitcoining, but then on top of that, you hit this bear market. And you know what? This is where you find out why you're here, right? Are you really just here for, a bunch of quick gains and, this fast story, this is the current trend, or are you actually here for sound money?
Absolutely. It's not even that. It is that. But just to add to it, because there's something that you said that I just want to riff on a little bit, which is, are you here for the quick gains? Like, Bitcoin's averaged 200% year after year.
It's not good enough, Nico. It's not good enough.
So if that isn't quick, right? It's because you know what it is. Like you're seeing the shit coins, right? And it's like the random one, pumps 1,000%, right? And it's like if you're comparing it to the casino, it's like Bitcoin's gains are relatively passive. But if you're just like think about it, like what is the compound interest of a 200% gain for 20 years? It's freaking ridiculous, I bet. Right? It's probably insane. But anyways, Phil, I want to show everyone a little bit of hopium. But it's not hopium because it's actual data. But I'm sure people are going to see this as hopium. But anyways, this is really bullish news because at least this means people are taking custody of their Bitcoin. And that is really important. But anyways, check out this tweet by BTC_archive. We want to know, guys, who do you think is a better Twitter account? Documenting Bitcoin or BTC_archive, because they do a very similar job.
Yeah.
And, they kind of have their own takes on it. Really cool accounts. Anyways, I digress. Bitcoin supply on exchanges is now at a 3-year low. It has been declining for 21 months. That's pretty freaking crazy, Phil. That's pretty nuts. And I don't know what that means, right? You could surmise a lot of things from that, but I would like to believe that at least some people are understanding the benefits of taking self-custody.
To your point, right? People are seeing the benefits of self-custody, but maybe also at the same time, there's more hodlers, and they're realizing, that, hey, this doesn't need to sit on an exchange. I'm not ready to get rid of it, right? So I'd like to believe, so to your point, right, the hopium, I'd like to believe that there's people pulling it off because they're not, they're not selling it. They're realizing the value in holding it.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm sure everyone's excited by seeing that metric, but we didn't say anything. That's all your guys' feelings. We didn't say anything. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
The Daily Fail, sponsored by The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Bitcoin made easy. Amber App is the easiest way to invest in Bitcoin. Check the link out down below in the show notes. We got tagged like crazy today. All right, we got tagged by Nimzobit, got tagged by Matthews GB. We also got tagged by Hazim on this. So look, I think that you guys wanted to hear about Squid Game Token. So we're going to dive into this mess of Squid Game Token, which, by the way, it's on BSC. So it's so funny because I see so many people, okay, like, sitting there and cheering on people like CZ. And don't get me wrong, but they've had quite a few rug pulls on their shitty platform. So I don't know why anybody's singing this guy's praises. All right, anyways, let's dive into it. Let's dive into Squid Token. But before we do that, let's just start off with a quick vid, okay? This is essentially a guy on Twitch, okay, that had the Squid Game Token chart up, okay, live, and you guys get to watch this rug pull in real time. Like, you actually get to see it happen. Let's dive in. Let's take a look.
So the market cap is $2.168 trillion. And now the market... Oh! Oh! It went to zero! Yo! So the market...
Oh, that was great.
Oh, man.
I mean, are you kidding me? So he's, anyways, Twitch guy, good job showing the rug pulls in real time. I bet he wasn't expecting that. Hope he didn't have any money in that. Anyways, wanted to go check out the Squid Game Token Twitter account. Unfortunately, the account is temporarily restricted. So yeah, we were not able to dig into that, but CoinDesk was nice enough to post an article at 10:36 this morning. So let's dive into it. Squid Game Token crashes. Developers say they left the project. I'm pretty sure that this was considered to be DeFi, but for some reason, when the devs left, the token just completely died.
Like the people on the show.
This is true. And interesting you mentioned that. The developers behind a crypto project inspired by Netflix's mega popular show Squid Game say they've left the project after the price of its affiliated token crashed to nearly zero. Look, don't get me wrong. Not happy, you know, about the bag holders getting dunked on. You know me, I'm Canadian, so I'm going to be super nice about it. But at the same time, you know, shame on you for investing in a complete scam. A money that's popularized after a Netflix show? Really? Like, do you honestly think that that's what's going to be something huge going forward, something that people are going to trust in? Like, you have to remember something, right? Money is our value. That is the time that we don't get back. People care about this, and they're starting to care more about it. And the idea that you're putting your money into something like this, it means you don't give a shit about your time. That's what it means. It says, I don't care about my time, and I want to waste it. Anyways, I'm going to continue. Early on Monday, Twitter user _trick flagged that the developers of the Squid Game project had rug pulled squid holders. This is very nice, by the way. A rug pull in crypto occurs when the creators of a project take off with investors' funds. A rug pull is not just the creators of a project. It's also a nefarious hacker coming in and finding an exploit, using that exploit, and rug pulling the token. So, I mean, call it what you want. That's a lot of nuance, right? That's a hack. Look, it's all rug pulls. Okay? It's all rug pulls. None of it should have been money in the first place. But it's interesting that they define for you what a rug pull is. So you get some value out of this as you're crying over the money that disappeared. You can say, I learned something. Anyways, data from the BSC scan shows that an address labeled by the website is being reported to have been involved in a rug pull, dumped squid tokens, and cashed out millions of dollars worth of BNB tokens. BNB is the native token to Binance Smart Chain. How many times before has CZ stopped transactions on Binance? Many times. Not hearing about that today. Anyways, not to say that he's involved, but just saying, this is what happens with centralized entities. Mm-hmm. Hey, if you're the right person, if you're the right group, you get some help. If you're not, well, nobody cares about your money. Huh?
You get privilege.
That's right. Anyways, data from CoinMarketCap shows that the price for Squid was down nearly 99.99% to $0.002541 in the past 24 hours. Make no mistake, that is what the shitcoin bag looks like in a bear market. Minus 99%, that's normal. Minus 97%, it's completely normal. Anyways, its trading volume has increased more than 130% over the same time period, indicating huge selling pressure. That's informative. As if people weren't trying to dump their bags, right? Someone is trying, so this is good, right? This is actually from the devs, okay? Someone is trying to hack our project these days. Not only the Twitter account at @GoGoSquidGame, but also our smart contract. We are trying to protect it, but the price is still abnormal. Squid Game dev does not want to continue running the project as we are depressed from the scammers and is overwhelmed with stress. We have to remove all the restrictions. This is interesting. This is very interesting. We have to remove all the restrictions and the transaction rules of Squid Game. Squid Game will enter a new stage of community autonomy, it wrote. Let me tell you another complete scam that changed its rules when it rug pulled its holders. BitConnect. And for the people who don't remember what BitConnect was, that was before there was DeFi, before there was any of this yield farming crap that everybody thinks they're so smart doing, there was plain and simple BitConnect, okay? And with BitConnect, all you did was put your money on their platform, you bought their crappy token, and then they paid you back in it every day. So the more you put, the more they paid you back in it every day. And if you were smart, you cashed it out in Bitcoin. But most people were way too greedy and couldn't do math or pretended that the math didn't exist. So they continued to invest in it. Look, this is the exact same crap, okay? When these people rug pull, they're done. They're done with you. So that's it. Oh, yeah, now we're giving it back to the community. It's community-based. Wherever it wants to go, it goes. Now that they've taken your money, now that they've stolen from you, now that you're broken unhappy, hey, it's yours. Enjoy. Run with the ball.
Yeah, man.
Squid
Look.
Game Token, Nico. Squid Game Token. What do you think of that name? You a fan? Is that good?
I love the fan. I love the name. Like we
Good
always
show?
say. Like we always say on this show, on this show, not on that show. The shitcoiners, they come up with incredible names, you know, to take your Bitcoin away from you. And there was something that you said in the beginning of your segment. It was so. This idea, like, look, you have to be very clear what shitcoining is, okay? Because I think that a lot of people don't understand or have a misunderstanding of what shitcoining is. Shitcoining is gambling, okay? You have to be very clear.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? So, and they entice everyone with the short-term gains, right? But just like gambling at a blackjack table, right? The odds of you winning are lower than the house, and in terms of shitcoining, you don't even know what the fucking odds are because it's all up in the air. And I think that the video and this in general is a beautiful metaphor for the whole shitcoining experience, but usually it takes about 6 months or a couple months to rug pull. In the case of Squid Games, right, it only took couple days, and we had the pleasure to see it crash in real time with that amazing streamer that was doing the commentary. But it's beautiful because think about it this way: that guy, if that didn't happen in real time, he was about to tell you 1,000,001 reasons as to why you should buy this token.
Oh yeah, of course.
So, like, man, like, if that is not a warning, I don't know what is, right? And let's compare this to Bitcoin, because I think we talked about this in the beginning a little bit as well, right? Where in Bitcoin you have, for the last 13 years, Bitcoin has given you, on average, 200% returns, right? Not every year, some year. No, I mean on average. So if you hold it over an average period of time. So what's the lesson there, right? It's like if you fiat mine, right, and you put some of your salary into Bitcoin, right? You're not at risk of your currency being debased by the government. You're not at risk of your currency being confiscated, right? Like we know with the new Biden appointee, she has some plans for the Federal Reserve, right? With that emergency switch where she could just confiscate funds to harness in inflation. But anyway, so your funds are not at risk of being confiscated. Your funds are not at risk of being debased. And your funds are not at risk of being rug pulled, right? So the question that you have to ask yourself is, do you want, look, nothing is a sure thing in life, but do you want as close of a sure thing as you can? You put your money in Bitcoin, right? Have a long time preference, you know, put some money away, like you're saving, but you're saving in Bitcoin. Or your other choice, right, is to gamble essentially on these shitcoins. Now, Phil and I both made it out alive from the shitcoin casino, and Phil and I would both have significantly more Bitcoin today if we did a shitcoin. And I would say, I don't think I've met one person, right, that has got out of shitcoining and has had a good experience. And I'm sure there is people, right? I'm sure there is, out of that 99%, I'm sure that I mean, out of that, 1% or half of a percent, I'm sure there's that one person, but that one person didn't get out of it because of skill, right? That person got out of it because of pure luck, right? So again, do you want to gamble with your wealth, right? Or do you want to put your money in put your wealth in the soundest money that was ever created in the history of mankind? Right, that has had on average 200% returns year after year. That doesn't mean it's going to have 200% returns year after year moving forward into the future, right? But again, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, right? Don't you want that? I think that if every single human being wanted just a piece of a Bitcoin, right? They would. I forget the math, but I'll pop it up. It's like 0.0011 Bitcoin. Right? So imagine having a bigger portion of that, right? Anyways, Phil.
Man, I just, look, it got me thinking, as you're talking, right? They play these games, okay? And it's exactly right. You're absolutely right. We had to be clear. Shitcoining is gambling, okay? But what you have to, what we also have to, I guess warn people is that they are going to play, right? The shitcoiners are going to play every dirty trick in the book, right? They're going to puff up the technology, okay? They're going to talk about all the, how much faster it is, like completely negating the fact that it's centralized. In some cases, like Ethereum, right? They're going to brag about their fork and talk about how they're burning tokens now, even though Ethereum has no hard cap. So what does it matter that they're burning tokens? That's like the Fed right now saying, hey, you know what? We're going to burn $2 trillion. But we're going to print $10 trillion, and there's no cap on how much we can print.
Dude, I think you nailed it.
It makes no difference.
There was a lot of signal where you said there. But first, I wanted to mention something. You said, you said something about games, right? We are playing a game, Phil. In this case, it's the Squid Games.
The Squid Games.
But
not bad. All right.
Dad joke. I've been hanging out with Phil a lot.
Yeah,
and to add value to what you were saying, Phil, you said something really interesting, and I think that you did it accidentally, which is they're acting like the Fed. That's exactly what they're doing, right? And again, why is this happening? Because human beings are in charge of the monetary policy, so inevitably it gets corrupted, right? And it's not like Vitalik or Jerome Powell twirling their mustaches and they're like, ha ha, right? But they're just acting out of their own best interest. And by acting out of their own best interest, they're inadvertently hurting everybody else. Now, if you compare that to the Bitcoin network, everyone acting for their best own interests, for their own best incentives, actually helps the network and it benefits everybody else, right? So compare the two systems, right? Networks like, I would consider proof of stake the same as the fiat system we have today. If you compare the fiat system and all these shitcoins, right? It's the monetary policy benefits a few, and if you compare it to the Bitcoin network, the monetary policy benefits everybody equally, except if you're Steve Hanke. If you're Steve Hanke, you're fucked. But everyone else, you're good. And if you're Steve Hanke and you decide to buy Bitcoin one day, it will benefit him. But I suspect he's going to be the last one onto the lifeboat.
He ain't getting on the lifeboat, dude. He is going down with the ship. You know why? He's on a leash. And yeah.
He's tied to the Titanic? That sounds terrible.
Tied to it. That is his anchor. You know what? It reminds me of, okay, so this is going to be ultra cheesy. And for all, the movie A Christmas Carol, right? You've got Jacob Marley and he's all weighed down by his books and his chains. There you go. That's like Steve Hanke all weighed down by the fiat system that he has to uphold and tell everyone about and support but not support and give contradictory tweets about what he actually does for a living. It doesn't matter.
Man,
Clown world.
Clown world. Clown world. That's really what it is. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review, sponsored by... The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. Get yourself the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's Bitcoin news, articles by plebs, for plebs. Get yourself a physical copy. There's only 1,000 made per volume. Citadel21.com. All right, everybody, the meme for today. First one is brought to us by Glenn A. Cooper. And looks like a fellow plebe. Yep, definitely looks like a fellow plebe. Oh, puts the block in everything. Definitely a plebe, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, for a Christmas, I want a dragon. Be realistic. 1 Bitcoin. What color do you want your dragon? Awesome meme by Glenn A. Cooper. Next one is by Stony BTC. Stony Bitson.
Yeah.
Bitcoin plebs. Oh, the devil's in the details. The cold card. Fiat Ponzi, central bankers, censorship, KYC, AML, rent seekers, politicians, big tech, being poor, Tether FUD, the Fed, IMF, ECB, FinTwit, mainstream media. Awesome meme. Stony Bitson. Next one is brought to us by Patrick B. Definitely a fellow pleb. How do we fix this? It's Jerome Powell and Christine Lagarde. By the way, I might add, they're both vampires. They're wearing wigs right now. They take off their hair. It's like horns will come out and shit. Anyways.
Vampires don't have horns.
These vampires do. Okay.
These vampires do.
Okay. Brr. Elmo. Bitcoin. Gulag.
It's pretty. All right. That's,
by the way,
this is very insider.
It's 2030. Phil and I are going to be at the Gulag, but don't worry. Simply Bitcoin will still be going on. Hopefully.
We will be broadcasting from the Gulag.
Live from the Gulag.
So, from the Gulag, we are starving and overworked. It is simply Bitcoin.
Yeah. You'll see us with all the plebs, right? I'm sure Yellow will be there as with us. Anyways, last but not least, Alex Gladstein. And new fire from RD_BTC. And it is onwards. And it is the cypherpunks standing up to Facebook and Meta. Right? Really real. It's like a piece of art. Anyways, amazing memes. They made me laugh. It was like an emotional roller coaster. Phil, why don't you go first and then I'll rate the meme.
Oh man, you're not beating me on this one. Okay, so check this out. Okay, I am giving this my mini Zoltar Speaks. Damn it.
Oh.
Check that out. It even lights up. I don't know how well you could see that. There you go. The Zoltar Speaks. Boom.
Zoltar Speaks. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Phil, I think I might beat you because check this out. Special delivery. I'm going to hang it up. I'm giving it the Bitcoin Day El Salvador newspaper from the day that Bitcoin went live. I'm going to hang it up. It's a piece of history.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude.
You going to frame it? That definitely kills my frickin' Zoltar Speaks.
I'm totally going to frame it, dude.
Okay, cool.
Did you know that the chancellor on the second bailout for banks newspapers, they're going for so much, those newspapers.
Of course. And you know what? As Bitcoin continues to solidify its rightful place, okay, in our financial system, that everything around it is just going to go up. Everything from the beginning. Because
except for Steve Hanke. He's going down.
He's going down. And Christine Lagarde.
Christine Lagarde!
The IMF is going down. The WEF is going down. They're all going down. Klaus Schwab. I mean, come on. Nobody gets away with wearing that outfit. Seriously.
Bro.
Nobody gets away with it. You've seen it. I mean, come on.
I'm going to pop it up. Of course, I have a mental image when you say
of course,
me
too.
It.
And like, what's with like, what does he have? Like a brooch in the middle? What is that? Look at, I don't know.
This time is time for a great reset. It builds back better. You know, fucking guy's a nut job, bro. See, that's the fiat system for you, bro. And you want to hear something crazy? And this is true. I'm gonna pop it up because we bring the receipts. The World Economic Forum was founded. Guess the date. Guess the year, Phil. Guess the year.
1971.
Yes, it was founded the day that we went off the gold standard, bro. Okay, now, don't read into it too much, but holy fuck is that a coincidence, bro. That is one hell of a coincidence. Just saying.
It is.
Just saying. Just thought.
What you know, Nico, it's just, things like that just happen, you know? They just so happen.
Dude, these days, bro, like...
So happens.
Dude, what's that saying that's like for decades nothing happens and then a year, decades happen, something like that? We're definitely in that year that decades happen, bro.
Yeah.
You know, these last 2 years have been fucking crazy, but they've been super fun because we have Bitcoin. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily News, sponsored by... Daily News is brought to you by Cloaks. Get yourself a 3D printed Bitcoin grenade and take advantage of the link down below for 5% off cryptocloaks.com.
Bitcoin to the moon. That's why I'm pumped to share that I've recently teamed with Cash App. They have enabled me to take part of my NFL salary in Bitcoin for the very first time. Bitcoin is a new concept and can be intimidating. So to make it more accessible to my fans, I'm giving away $1 million worth of Bitcoin right now. All you have to do is drop your cash tag below, and we can go to the moon together. Cheers.
All right, let's break because there's a lot of fucking noise there. Okay, first of all, is Aaron Rodgers. He's a super famous quarterback. He has 4.4 million Twitter followers, and
I know nothing about team sports.
And he teamed up with Cash App to get paid in Bitcoin. Obviously, it was some type of promo. Cash App is giving away Bitcoin. That's pretty cool, right? But let's focus on the signal, okay? The signal here is, this is, I would say, the second or third major athlete to accept part of his salary in Bitcoin. Now, and it's a strategic move by Cash App because Strike, right, is also offering similar things, right, with athletes. I think Russell Okung, a couple months ago, we reported this, right?
He was the first one.
He was the first one, and he accepted a portion of his salary with Bitcoin through Strike. So you have Cash App strategically kind of moving itself. And remember what I told you guys yesterday, when two companies compete for your business, you win, right? So it's awesome that we see Cash App and Strike taking the initiative to get people to accept part of their salary in Bitcoin. Now, why is this so important? And I'm sure a lot of people got caught up with what he was saying and the hashtag, they want a part of that $1 million and all that BS. Put that aside for a second. If you're getting paid in something that it's constantly losing value versus something that annually has returned 200% since inception, since its birth, what do you think you'd rather get paid in, right? And it's just a matter of time, right, when enough people wake up and when enough people start asking questions. And Andreas Antonopoulos actually had a really famous line, right? And before he turned into a shitcoiner, he was one of the people that originally orange-pilled me. I would listen to his lectures on Bitcoin on repeat back in 2016. And 2016-2017, I would say, listen to his lectures in 2017, really. But one of the things that really fascinated me was he said this. He said, no one cares until the money breaks, right? And like we covered yesterday, right, the money is breaking, right? And when I say that, I mean the record amount of inflation that's happening and the Fed's inability to take it under control. And the reason they can't take it under control is because their usual mechanisms, right, of just tapering off, meaning slowing down the purchases of assets, right? If they do that, they crash the economy, right? They crash the stock market. If they don't do that, more inflation, right? So that kind of creates a situation where you have, right, to quote Jack Mallers himself, to quote Ron Paul, we don't want to speculate ourselves, right? There's a crack up boom. There's hyperinflation. Those are their words, not ours, right? So people are going to start asking questions, right? And you have Bitcoin right there saying, come to me, daddy. Come to me. I'll fix your problems, right? So really interesting. And I hope more and more people take part of their salary or all of their salary in Bitcoin so they could see the benefits of an undebasable, uncensorable, sound money versus fiat money that, to be honest with you, it's fucking depressing as shit to save in, right? It's constantly losing value, right? And if, the worst part about all this, Phil, is that the people that get hurt the most by fiat, right, are the people that can't afford to be hurt by fiat. They're the lower class of the economic scale and the middle class of the economic scale, because the wealthy and the upper middle class have the means to invest in things, whether that's the stock market, that's a bit of a joke, right? Because it just keeps going up. Middle of the pandemic, doesn't matter, all-time high, baby. And that's because of the money printer, of course. And real estate, and in our favorite shiny metal shitcoin, gold. And it really is, it's just shit metal, Phil. It's not a shitcoin, it's a shit metal. And our favorite sound money, Bitcoin, which we suggest. But yeah, man, really hopeful. I know there's a lot of noise there, because he's wearing his Halloween costume, he's giving away money. That's usually a red flag. But I want you guys to focus on the signal, because there's a crap ton of signal there. Phil?
You know what? To your point, I'm really happy to see another prominent athlete, even though I don't really care for, professional sports or anything like that. But I am happy to see these people getting this message out. And you know what? It's really cool to see them have some skin in the game, right? And decide to take on, like you said, part of their salary in Bitcoin. And all it takes, right? All it takes is just for them to accumulate a little bit, start to learn about it, and then after a while, they're like, why didn't I just get my whole salary in Bitcoin to begin with? Mm-hmm. You know, like that's really what it is. But I mean, look, I get it, right? Look, we're all living here. You know, every single one of us has to interact every single day. You know, when we go out into the world, the majority of people are just, accepting debit and credit transactions. So, of course, right, it's kind of like, it's a shift. It is a shift for somebody mentally. So I'm really glad to see that these people that have like such massive followings, right, because they're professional athletes, actually go and, petition people to say, hey, why don't you take a look at Bitcoin and I'll give some away. And people don't realize, the strength in that. I've heard people make the argument that when you give Bitcoin away, oh yeah, well, I'm why people give it away? Because it's worthless, and they don't get it though. It's like the excitement that a lot of us have about what this means for the future of our store of value. We're like, you know what? I'm willing to give you some just so that you can see how amazing this experience is and how it changes the way that you look at money. It's worth it. It's completely worth it. Because once that person sees that, in most cases, they're willing to dig into it a lot deeper. I mean, I can say that, until I did my first Bitcoin transaction, I'm not talking about just buying off like an exchange or something like that, but sending Bitcoin to somebody and receiving a service or a product in return, like that, all of a sudden, that working, that just clicked. Like all of a sudden, I didn't have to put in credit card info. There was no need to KYC me or anything like that in that process. I didn't have to provide a whole bunch of background info. All it was really simple. I gave these people a shipping address and I gave them a Bitcoin and I sent them Bitcoin to the address that they asked me with the fee.
Who did you pay a Bitcoin
That's
to?
it.
What did you buy with one whole Bitcoin? Whoa. We can't be friends anymore, Phil.
Bitcoin. I never sent the full Bitcoin. Okay, maybe I did a long time ago, but that was a long time ago. It cost a lot less back then, okay? I didn't know. For me, it wasn't a store of value. Like, the fluctuation, it just, I was like, all right, so this is what it does. It fluctuates. Internet money. Okay, cool. Interesting.
Oh,
like,
dude.
I didn't know.
I know. I'm kidding. We've all bought in stuff
Damn
with Bitcoin
fool.
that we regret later. Let that be a lesson to you. Put your Bitcoin in cold storage. Anyways, moving on. A little bit darker subject, but I do have a happy ending. Bear with me. Check this out, right? I'm sure all you guys paid attention. Facebook is now Meta. What is the metaverse and why should we care? But I want you guys to pay attention to this. It's the World Economic Forum that's talking about this. And Klaus Schwab actually had a comment. I'm going to try to read it in his voice. The internet will eventually evolve into the metaverse, which will come to represent the next major computing platform. So, and this is what they retweet, which is really menacing because it's a little girl in a virtual reality. And I'm sure that if you zoom out of this picture, it's the little girl living in a pod eating bugs with the robot as a parent. Because I'm sure that's what Klaus Schwab would want. But anyways, not to read too much into it, but let's pay attention to the signal, put the, comedy aside for a second. Again, right, why, you have to ask yourself questions, right? And the question is, why is the World Economic Forum, a proponent of, the metaverse? Like, why are they supporting that? They don't talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin supports freedom. They don't talk about that, right? They talk about this, right? So again, something to pay attention to. Anyways, moving on. This is also what the World Economic Forum wants, right? We actually know this for a fact. We brought the receipts. The World Economic Forum wants to force you to use ID to log onto the internet. Now, we reported this a couple months ago, and it was actually Australia, and we played you a news clip in Australia. Essentially, the reporters were just talking nonchalant about how the Australian government is going to force you to use an ID to log into Instagram, to log into Facebook. They want to know. They don't like the random anon plebs. They don't like that. They want to know who's who, right? To kind of read a little bit from the article, right? It says, ending anonymity, why the World Economic Forum's partnership against cybercrime threatens the future of privacy. The World Economic Forum's real ambitions in cybersecurity to create a global organization aimed at gutting even the possibility of anonymity online, and related push by World Economic Forum partners to tackle cybercrime that seeks to end privacy and the potential for anonymity on the internet in general by linking government-issued IDs to internet access. Now, I know what you're talking about. This could be a conspiracy theory. This could be this, right? You know, like you were really hyperbolic showing this stuff with, you know, Klaus Schwab saying, you know, he's really excited. But again, yeah, you could say it's a conspiracy theory, but the thing is we always bring receipts. You guys know the drill, right? We showed you Australia, but now it's more than Australia. Social media accounts could soon require digital ID in France and the UK. Digital ID may soon be a requirement for social media participation, as both France and the UK have taken steps towards the ban of anonymous social media accounts. The website of the French Senate published a new bill proposing the creation of an independent supervisory authority in charge of collecting user IDs when they register with online platforms. According to conservative Senator Alain Cadec, the creation of the new law would stop an observed increase in cyberbullying, make it easier to prosecute potential offenders, right? They want your ID because they want the cyberbullying to end. Is it that, or could it be that on social media the truth comes out and the truth is inconvenient to the powers that be? Imagine how the Great Reset thing would be going right now if we didn't have social media to get the truth from other individuals, rather than getting all of our information from the gatekeepers, from the propaganda mainstream media, right? And again, that's not my words. That was Cernovich who said that yesterday, right? So again, right, imagine if all of a sudden your Anon Twitter account was tied to an ID. Would you feel as liberated, as free to talk without any sense of getting repercussions? Because at the end of the day, like, as long as you're not hurting anybody or calling to violence, they're really making the argument that your speech is dangerous, that what you say is dangerous. And this is extremely totalitarian, and this should scare the living crap out of you. Now, I know in the US we have freedom of speech, right? With the First Amendment, the Founding Fathers were smart enough to put that as the first one, right? But again, what you're seeing today is you're seeing the federal government going around that by directly telling social media companies, to be the arbiters of the truth, right? So they are kind of circumventing that. Now add an ID into the mix, right? Where everything you say is tied to a government ID. And think about it, how much the government could abuse this. You vote for the wrong person, you eat the wrong thing, you didn't eat bugs twice this week, right? You can't, all of a sudden you can't go to the train. All of a sudden you can't shop at the supermarket. Again, are these things happening? Well, they are happening in China, number one, right? And number two, what scares me, Phil, is that these tying an ID to your social media, it will give the government the ability to do the things that I'm talking about. It would give them the power to do the things that I'm talking about, right? And again, I don't think anybody deserves that type of power, because if history is a teacher, right, is that you'll see that every time the government gets some type of power over the population, they use it time and time and time again, right? But anyways, this is to read the senator's explanation. The proposed law thus aims to facilitate the identification of the perpetrators of offenses, and thereby contribute to putting an end to the real feeling of impunity of the authors of hateful, racist, homophobic, or messages, right? So again, it's excuse after excuse after excuse. Now, I'm not saying these things aren't bad. Of course they're bad. But I think the social media platforms today, if you do any of those things, the first thing that they're going to do is ban you right quick, right? So again, are these things happening all over the internet? They're not. And if they do happen, the social media platforms are very quick to ban that. So again, this is more cracking down on dissenting speech. This is what I see it as, right? But it's not only that, right? It's not only tying your ID to who you are, right? It's not only, the powers that be want you to live in a virtual reality, right? It's not only that. There's also a war on cash, right? And again, there's a lot of noise here, right? But this goes back to what we were saying. Now, we believe in climate change, right? We're not saying that the climate isn't changing. But what we're also saying is that giving bureaucrats that have never created something in their lives more power and more money isn't going to solve anything. And it's just going to give them more power, right? And we don't agree with that, right? But anyways, amongst all these things, right? Because I know you guys are thinking, what the F does that have to do with anything? I'll be asking world leaders to take action on coal, cars, cash, and trees. He tied cash into the mix. All of a sudden, cash, what allows you to transact anonymously with people, all of a sudden, cash is the boogeyman, and Clash is causing climate change, and we must fight Clash because it's doing this, right? So again, you see governments on the left, the right, everywhere in the Western world using emergencies, using world events, whether that's climate change, whether that's the sickness that's affecting the world, as a justification to get more and more and more and more power, right? So it's very scary stuff. And again, how is the only way that you protect yourself from all of this mess? You opt out of their system completely. And the way that you do that on a monetary standpoint is by buying Bitcoin and taking self-custody. And you're protecting yourselves, at least monetarily, from these crazy individuals, right? That want to completely control your life. Very, very scary stuff. Phil?
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for going through that. That was creepy. And I just want to go back to the metaverse. Okay? So I was talking about this with a few people on Spaces.
But wait, hold on. Before you do that, read that in Klaus Schwab's voice.
I don't know how to do his voice.
Read this, Phil. Just try.
Okay.
You have to put your hands together too.
I have to put my hands together.
Yeah.
The internet will eventually evolve into the metaverse, which will come to represent the next major computing platform. Exactly.
All right, what were you saying?
He's like Homer Simpson. Okay. He's like evil Homer. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I like Homer, but he's an evil Homer. Anyways, so the metaverse, right? This is perfect for them. The metaverse is perfect because people plugged in all day long, not actually traveling anywhere, not actually doing anything, sitting in the same spot where they can be monitored and controlled is completely perfect. And not only that, the place that they're going to can be completely monitored and controlled. So it's a beautiful thing. And not only that, but if you think about it, it totally fits into the narrative of not having a home anymore, right? Now it's like I saw this in a tweet. I apologize. I don't remember who tweeted it out, but they said, no thanks, Ready Player One reality, no thanks. And that's exactly what it is. It's like, so here you go. Everybody can just live in these small little boxes. You'll have your little virtual reality room. You'll step into the metaverse every single day. And what's interesting about this is that, picture this, right? Already, we already have a certain amount of a derivative type of life, right? Because of fiat, because of the products that fiat produces, the low quality of them, the fact that there's the constant churn, the fact that we live these type of lives that force us onto this wheel that gets, bigger and bigger, which we've explained many times. So the interesting thing about it is that the metaverse is another step removed from that, okay? Because now you're in this place that is completely fake and you're using your time, which is finite. In some cases, I shouldn't say in some cases, but eventually you'll be using your resources to pay for things in the metaverse that don't actually exist except there. Think about that. It's not even real. It's a derivative of reality. And you're paying for it. It's, anyways, for me, like, I mean, I know you showed some other creepy stuff with, the World Economic Forum as well. Not the World Economic Forum, sorry. The ID being tied, right? Like, they want us to have our ID being tied to getting online. This is exactly part of that's how I wanted to fit that in. This is exactly part of building that metaverse narrative. Because if you're going to want to step into the metaverse, you're going to have to most likely apply by their rules. Like right now, when you go into VR and you go into VR chat and you put on a headset, like, you're installing the software and you're abiding by whatever rules they have. But you see, the World Economic Forum, they like the metaverse because they can picture everyone stepping into this thing, right? And everybody providing a digital ID, right? That ties back to their real ID. And it's going to be funny because in real life, we're not going to be doing anything anymore, really. So all of our activity is just going to be this virtual activity. And imagine that there's going to be consequences to your real life through that virtual activity. And not just in your real life, there's going to be consequences even in your virtual life to that virtual activity. Anyways.
Very scary.
It's getting very weird. It's definitely getting weird, and I definitely want to hit the undo button. Like if there was an undo button, I'd be like, all right, undo. We're done.
There is an undo button, but there is an opt out button, right?
We have an opt out.
Tap that opt out button really hard, and when I mean tap, it's smash buying Bitcoin on the Amber app. Go right now, smash buy. But anyways, check this out, Phil. I said there was going to be a happy ending. And I think this is a happy ending. Now tie this in with this, right? Which is digital ID, the metaverse, right? All of this stuff that we've been talking about. Now, what is the alternative? That's a good question, right? Umbrel, which is a node operating system, raises $3 million in seed round to get a server in every room. Now, what does that mean? Well, first of all, check this out. Umbrel, if you guys don't know, they're one of the good Bitcoin node OSs, right? There's my node BTC, Raspberry Blitz, Umbrel, right? But I didn't know this. Umbrel servers are powering 90% of all the Lightning Network nodes launched over the last year. I would be a bigger fan if that number came down. I think 90% is a lot. Anyways, you want more diversification in terms of, so there isn't one single point of failure. There isn't one single attack point. But anyways, to kind of read a little bit, and you'll see why how I tie this in. As Umbrel evolves from a Bitcoin and Lightning Network node to a personal server, our mission has never felt more urgent. Surveillance capitalism has plagued the internet, and self-hosting your data on your personal server is the only way to ensure that your data won't be used against you, because you never hand it out in the first place. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, what the F does that mean? Picture this, right? You kind of need a Bitcoin node. Now you do need a Bitcoin node, especially if you own Bitcoin, right? Why do you need it? Because how are you going to trust that the balance that you're seeing is really the balance of you're seeing if you're not comparing that with your own copy of the blockchain, which is really what a node is. It's your copy of the blockchain, right? That's constantly being updated every time there's a new block, and you're paying attention and you're looking out in the network to make sure everyone else is also playing by the rules. But as data storage gets cheaper, right? You guys, I'm sure you've noticed this. Hard drives have become ridiculously cheap. Now it's SSD drives, and now they're getting consecutively cheaper and cheaper, right? Picture this, right? Why can't you also have, right? And I think Embassy OS is doing this as well, Phil. Why can't you also have a private internet server on that node? Why can't you also have a messaging server on that node? You get where I'm going with this. Because how the internet works today, right, is if I use Signal, if I use whatever, my phone or my messaging app connects with the Signal servers, which someone else owns. It's in a giant, Google warehouse or anything like that. And then they get sent to the messenger, right? Or if I'm using Proton Mail, right? I send it, whatever, it gets sent to Switzerland, the Proton Mail server is there, and then it gets sent to the last messenger. As we saw, even Proton Mail, essentially got corrupted. They got the Swiss authorities put pressure on Proton Mail, and they're not as anonymously friendly as they used to be, right? The point is, just like Bitcoin, right? Just like Bitcoin, right? And I think Bitcoin is the foot in the door, right? The reason that Bitcoin works the way it does is because everyone that's running a node is running Bitcoin. The Bitcoin software, unlike Ethereum, unlike XRP, isn't concentrated in a few number of servers in a giant Google warehouse, right? This is why the fork wars are so important. Because we wanted Bitcoin to be as least resource intensive as possible, so as many people could run it as possible, therefore decentralization, right? Which therefore protects anti-censorship, therefore protects all the stuff that you value of Bitcoin, right? Now imagine the internet, and this is where I think Umbrel's heading. I know Embassy OS is heading in this direction. This is where Umbrel and Embassy OS think the internet is heading, right? If you already are running a node, right? Why can't that hardware also run an email server? Why can't that hardware also run a messaging server? And you'll see how you're completely cutting out the attack vector, because all of a sudden, think about it. If the government's like, oh, we want your username, we want your email and password, you're like, you're not protecting someone else's data. Now you're protecting your data. And imagine if everyone else is now running a node with their private email server and all that stuff. And remember, at the end of the day, a government is just a bunch of people, right? Think about it. Think about it, Phil, right? Yeah. So again, do we know this for sure? Of course we don't know this for sure, but I think that there's a tremendous amount of signal there in that announcement from Umbrel. I think this is the future of the internet, people running their own servers, taking the sovereignty back. I think that we outsource a lot of that sovereignty because the cost of storing stuff, of running stuff was so expensive. But I think as the decades go by, I think specifically for privacy intensive stuff, I see more and more people running that themselves. And I think Bitcoin is the foot in the door. Right, and I'll just leave you with this last thought. Everyone's running a router anyways. Why can't that router also incorporate a Bitcoin node, also incorporate a private email server, a messaging server, right? Why? I don't think I don't suspect it could be very hard. If you don't want your router to be the same as that stuff, of course it could be a separate device. The reason I say router is because everyone already has a router, right? So everyone already kind of has their own dedicated hardware device connected to the internet 24/7. Why can't that also be more things as the price of hardware gets cheaper and cheaper? Just a thought. No one knows. Really interesting. And again, why is it that Bitcoin is always on the forefront for the fight for freedom, right? Really interesting. Phil?
Yeah, just to take a bit of a contrarian point of view on this, I know that there's, a lot of there's some battles going on, in the space in terms of, the licensing models and stuff like that, open source software and whatnot. And, for the people that are a little bit more, we'll say like privacy centric and stuff, like they may want to take a look at something like the Raspberry Blitz, where you build the image yourself and everything like that. They may also want to take a look at the Nodl. And I think that there's also, the Ronin Dojo. So, there's different flavors for different people. I think to your point about the router.
No, it doesn't have to be a router. I was talking shit.
No, but
I was
to your point about that, there's already, there's some pretty hardcore low-key Bitcoiners that have already been working on that already thought about this like 2 years ago and had started prototypes. Now, I don't know how far along that got or, if it's actually lifting off the ground. But yes, that was exactly what they were thinking. They said, hey, everybody's got one of these boxes anyways, so why not?
So do you agree? So do you agree with Umbrell's message where they said they want to get a server in every room? Do you see that as plausible?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so yeah, I do see it as plausible to get a node in every home. The
But they
question,
say specifically, they didn't say node. They said server. There's a lot of signal in that
yeah,
wording.
yeah, that's true. I get it. They called it a server, but that's because they're marketing. So keep in mind, right? It's marketing. They have many apps, and they have the quote unquote app marketplace. Like, so I know I get that they're calling it a server, but you know, yes, I think that is plausible. I think that that's going to be a good part of the internet being decentralized in the future. But I do see that we are going to have there's going to be some headwinds. And there's going to be a lot of discussion around the licensing models and, you know, the open source software and all that. So it's a never-ending battle. You know, it's a never-ending battle. I get, you know, like I totally respect the, you know, the amazing strives that Umbrell has made in the user experience domain, right? Like I know tons of people that, you know, otherwise wouldn't have touched setting up a node, you know, but this was just so easy. And so that's really great. But anyways, I just, you know, just to sum it up, there's a lot of great nodes out there, right? I already said the Nodl, the Dojo, there's the Raspy Blitz, there's the My node. So check it out. There's a lot of flavors. There's also Blix. I think there's something like that Blix node. There's also the Nix. So anyways, there's so many different ones. It's totally worth exploring.
Absolutely. We're going to stay on top of this, guys. Really interesting. It's awesome that Bitcoin is at the forefront, the vanguard of this, and, you know, that gives us an excuse to cover it, right? So really interesting stuff. And again, you have a dark future and you have a bright future. And Bitcoin's always on the bright future side. Really cool stuff. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Software releases and hardware releases is brought to you by CipherSafe.io. Physical stainless steel products to help you protect your Bitcoin from various modes of failure. Check out the link down below. So, we've got Sparrow Wallet. Sparrow Wallet, okay? Version 1.5.2 that was released. That is a Bitcoin wallet. Check it out. We hear lots of good things about it. There's so many wallets to check out. I should check it out. It's down below in the show notes.
Sparrow! Jack
So does the Sparrow do the paka?
I heard when you open the wallet. Oh, wait, it doesn't. What does a sparrow
Does
do?
it?
Well, let us know down in the comments. Let us know what a sparrow does. I don't know. Anyways, guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And, of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from Klaus Schwab and Squid Games tokens, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
The metaverse is not going to be a friendly place.